Hi there, I'm Sean McCutcheon. I'm here to talk to you about the Ukraine war. Russia has been testing both the world and the U.S. since the Cold War, and this special military operation is irrefutable proof that they'll do worse things if allowed. In 2014, Russia annexed Crimea, which was under Ukrainian control. Nobody did a thing to stop them or even really notice it. And it was reported that as of 5 months ago, Russia was now occupying and in control of 18% of Ukraine. Russia invaded Ukraine under the guise of a special military operation to denazify Ukraine. With Russia being one of the largest competing superpowers of the U.S. since World War II, and China being on the up and coming as a nation tied with Russia, it leaves many fearful, warranting nothing to do with any conflict regarding Russia in the future. Russia and the U.S. have long been competitors and spreading their idealism to other countries. And if the U.S. wants to maintain that idealism spreading method, they should be more involved in this current war. Russia has somewhat caused this themselves, as that method of spreading their idealistic economy has caused their satellite states that they armed to now be the topping list of candidates for the next nations to be denazified. And this war will affect all of our futures, just as it has now, but with a much steeper price to pay in the months to come. Now, I've been an avid follower of the happenings regarding the Ukraine war since it first began almost 2 years ago. I've listened to multiple takes on the war to achieve totality of information for cross-examination, and watched many videos documenting both the armaments being used and what is occurring in the day-to-day lives of the soldiers in the war. Now, allow me to demonstrate how war can be a good thing, statistically speaking. The biggest issue Americans take with the war is all the money, aid, supplies, weapons we've been sending Ukraine, and their view is they're abusing what we send them anyways. And because of its location being in another continent, why are we fighting this war? It has nothing to do with us. They're right that all the conflict is taking place in Ukraine, so it's understandable why they'd be hasty to fight a foreign conflict. But they're also right to cite that the conflict only really began after Ukraine attempted to join the EU, prompting that they never really joined for it and deserve no aid for not joining. I believe that by fighting this war now, we can avoid having to do it again ourselves in the not-so-distant future. Letting Ukraine fight for us would keep our hands metaphorically cleaner than it would be for us to do it ourselves. We were directly involved. We can also use this proxy war as a method of avoiding the will they, won't they semantics regarding possible nuclear altercations with Russia. The current propaganda of Russia can also play a deterministic role towards helping or not. The Russia polls have found that 70%, well, around 70%, of the people view the invasion of Ukraine as a good thing, indicating that Russia believes it will win and or are doing quite well. A televised parade that was recently held honoring the soldiers had lots of cheering and clapping and raucous nonsense to show just how much support the invasion has and how well Russia views this going. In reality, though, or at least from my perspective, all of the public media released by Russia has seen some heavy doctoring, and after the conscription of the soldiers began, the truth started leaking out horrendously. The parade they held was dead silent from an individual's phone's point of view, with no clapping, no cheering, just people standing aimlessly, with signs in their hands. The conscription of the soldiers also made many young men wish to opt out of being enlisted and dying in a pointless war, with one reported recruiter having been shot after attempting to get more soldiers. Many people also believe that the Ukrainian war can be won by themselves, and it's their fault that needing aid has caused the current inflation to skyrocket however big it has. Well, that both is and isn't true. They mainly point out to the statistic that the victims of the Hawaii fires only got $700 apiece, whereas we've sent hundreds of millions of dollars to Ukraine. And that has caused us to short ourselves when needing aid domestically. While Ukraine has effected a 3-to-1 casualty ratio against the Russians, that's only because they've been somewhat better equipped with our NATO weapons. They're still using weapons that are over 100 years old, improvising weapons due to shortages, and outright stealing from the Russians in order to bolster their ranks. You think they don't need our help against a world superpower with that strategy? The recent inflation has also had more to do with Russia invading Ukraine than Ukraine needing help from us. We placed sanctions against Russia along with most of the rest of the world, and as such have had to fight to maintain the same supply of goods without them. They're one of the largest raw material producers in the world, and without them we've had to look forward to more expensive options in smaller quantities. This chain reacts to everything costing a little bit more as a result, and it goes up little by little every time. While this war and war in general are bad things, there can be some good to come out of it as well, and you should look past the currently dying and see to the increasingly likely to understand. Many Americans don't believe we should send any Ukrainian aid, and that this isn't my war. But avoidance should be taken whenever necessary, even at a cost now. And the propaganda from Russia can paint the war in two entirely different lights, with the Russians being confident in their prowess and proud of their soldiers, and nobody wanting to fight in a pointless war, not even the Russian people. Ukraine doesn't need our support, and it's their fault that our economy is sinking. Why should I send aid to someone on another continent when I need help now? Well, it's Russia's fault that we're in the predicament we find ourselves, and only by aiding the people resisting them can we expect to return to normalcy. And I thank you for taking the time to consider something you would never have labeled a good thing. Our future is shaped now by how we decide to act, and this is a time of decision rivaling that of what's to follow Pearl Harbor. Future is now. It's all up to you.